Phoenix comes with a default footer right here, which uses the traditional theme customizer setup, which is where you can change the layout and the background color of that. And then you can also go to Appearance Widgets, and that's where you can add your footer widgets. So for example, here I am in the customizer. If I go to footer and I go to layout, here we have 3 chosen. Obviously if I change this to 4, it's going to do that, and I can have an extra slot or 2. It's gonna do that. So I'll leave that on 3 actually. And then my widgets area here is where I would add, to that footer 1 area, footer 2, footer 3. Footer 4 is empty right now because we're using just the 3 right here. So if that works for you and you can do an image through CSS and stuff, that's great. This is down here as well. And so that is great. But if you want to use one of the footers here, there's a little bit of work that we got to do. But first, let's check out the CSS that we have for the footers. So none for the main footers. For the subfooter, for the default subfooter, I am doing a little bit of, I'm floating it none and centering it. That centers the text. So if you said float left, that would take it back over to be left aligned over here. And then we're setting some letter spacing, font weight for both the text and the link. And then at 600, it goes down to 10 pixels. So that's if you want to use the default footer and the default subfooter. If you want to use a different footer and you want a subfooter, you just add it into your layout. So for example, let's say I want to use this footer here instead. Or actually, let's say this white one here. This one's pretty sweet. So what you'll do is you'll go to your Divi library, and we'll go ahead and find that footer number 2, I believe, or 3. 1, 2, 3, it looks like. Let me just inspect it to make sure. S-Fly footer 3, yep, that's the 3rd one. That's what we need. So I'm going to go ahead and open that guy. And so yeah, you can go in here and add a row and add a subfooter if you would like to this. If you'd like one, or you could just add underneath this button, you could add your copyright stuff right here. It's up to you. But the subfooter is something that if you choose one of these custom footers, you'll have to make a subfooter for it. But okay, with that open, there's a couple things you have to do on the server. You're going to have access to the server either through your cPanel or through FTP. But once you do, you're going to get it. Here's the WordPress install. Now this is a multi-site, so when I go into the themes folder, you're going to see a ton of themes. But there should only be, ideally, there should only be 2 themes in your install. Divi as the parent theme, and then the Phoenix child theme should be in there, and that should be the one that's activated. So if I go into themes, this is a multi-site, so it has all these themes in here. But we only want Phoenix to be installed and Divi. So I'm going to go into Divi, and I'm going to pull down to my local machine the footer.php, like so. And that gets my local copy here. I'm going to go back to the themes folder, go into Phoenix now, which only has style and functions, and I'm going to drag in this footer there. Ideally, you'd make these changes first and then drag it over, but I'm just going to do it on the server for just tutorial reasons. So I'm going to open up this footer. And so basically, when we drag that over, now we're telling the website, hey, instead of using the footer from Divi, use the footer from the child theme. And here that is. And then I have a special code here, so I'm going to go right above this footer ID main footer here, and I'm going to write in my Divi replace footer code, or I think it's Divi footer replace actually. There we go. And I'm just going to line it up right here. And then this number here gets replaced by, when you go to edit the footer that you want, you'll see up here it says post equals 3099. That's the number that we want. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go over here and replace that number here. Save it. And then normally you would save it and pull it over. But since I did the live one, it already updated it. So if I refresh this page, now you see at the very bottom, we have the one that I wanted to use here. And then we have the other footer. And this might be confusing, so I'm actually going to go to the modules page. I'm going to open that up in the new window and scroll to the bottom, and you'll see that we have that white footer down there like we wanted. But we also have this one still, and so we're going to hide that with CSS. Basically, we're going to say main footer. We're going to hide the Divi main footer. And I was trying to do the footer bottom. I think if we do, we can't hide this container. It works here. If I say display none here, oops, I misspelled that. That works great. So you would think, you'd say, oh, I just got to do main footer dot container. But you'll see if you do main footer dot container display none, wait for that guy. You'd think it's going to do this, but for some reason it decides, oh, there's nothing in there. I'm not going to show the subfooter either. So that's why the subfooter only works with the default. And so instead, I just do main footer display none. And now you're going to have your footer here at the bottom, and then you can go into this layout and you could add in your subfooter as a new row or whatever, as a new row that takes up 100%, you know. So yeah, here I'll just try to make one real quick. So I would do like a new row, probably just one column like so, insert a text module, and then you would just say, you know, copy 2018 Superfly, and I would say text font, you know, we're going to use Josephine. We're going to make it semi-bold, all caps. Text color, I want that to be white. And then text size, we're going to say 12. And then on smartphone, we're going to say 10. And then I want it to be centered. Text color light, which I already set it, so whatever. And then on the row, I'm going to say background color is black. And then under design, we're going to make it centered, make this row full width, use no gutters. Oh, and it's going to give us some margin and padding. So we'll just maybe say 10 pixels on the top and bottom and save it. And we'll update and we'll see what this does, but it just gives you an idea of how you can make a quick subfooter. Once this thing updates, there we go. So there we go. And it's, oh, and you'd have to go into the section here, to this guy, and you'd have to get rid of the padding bottom here. You have to set that to 0. So if I went in and did that, that would, you see, I would say padding 0, bottom 0, and then you would have your subfooter down there. So that's quick and dirty there. I'm not going to save that though, because I don't want that. I'm just going to leave it how it was. But you can, that's how you can make your own subfooter. And if you did a transparent background, if I'd have done a transparent background there on that row, you know, like so, I would have got some of that background in. That's pretty cool, you know. And then I think that that text needed some letter spacing that I never gave it. So probably font weight of 700, letter spacing of probably 6. So there we go, it's starting to come together. But I think just what we had is cool. So yeah, that is how you do that. And then if you're like, hey, I don't want to do that anymore, I want my original footer back, all you got to do is all you got to do actually is just delete this footer.php from the child theme, and then now it won't use it. Like now it's going to go back. Well, and you got to unhide this guy, and now it's going to go back to the default footer and subfooter, like so. So hopefully that gave you a little crash course there on how to swap out the footer for a different footer in Phoenix. All right, with that, that wraps up this video.